I rhyme for my life, I rhyme for my pay, I rhyme for my people out here doing it every day. I rhyme for the raw heads, I rhyme to the beat, I rhyme for the ears that be keeping it to the street. I rhyme for my life, I rhyme for my pay, I rhyme for the people out here doing it every day. I rhyme for the raw heads, I rhyme to the beat, I rhyme for the ears that be keeping it to the street. The underground overlord coming to town, oh my god, raw heads, you know my squad, real shit, no facade.
Hey everybody, I'm Randy Silvas.
And I'm Tony Mollick, and welcome back to the streets. This is our new show, and it's all about getting back to our roots.
In our new street division, we're racing cars like the ones we started out with in Season 1.
When we started this whole thing out, we were using H&R chassis with 40,000 RPM motors and 1/8 inch axles on both ends of the car.
The cars were heavier, and it was more of a challenge just to get down the street.
In episode 1 of this show, we introduced you to some of the cars in the new street division.
Tonight, we thought we would give you a glimpse of what we will be doing with these old school street cars.
In our early days, it was all about a top 10 list.
But somewhere along the line, we started building pro mods with hard bodies over top, and the top 10 list gave way to trophies and individual race days.
So if we're going back to real original slot rods, it's time to revive the idea of that top 10 list. But instead of just being for the 724, now it's going to be for the entire WPSRA.
In January of 2021, we were short tracking in Drew Hall's basement, and we were working under our newest rules for the top 10 at the time.
And them rules never did seem to stop changing.
So, let's take you back to January 17th, 2021. Hey guys, I'm Randy Silvas.
And I'm Tony Mollick.
Welcome back to Slotrods. On this episode, we'll be joining the crew for an evening of top 10 list racing. In our league, people own more than one car, and they don't want to bring the same car to every list race.
So to accommodate this, we've come up with our own system of rules to start the evening. The only car that needs to be at every list race is the number 1 car, whoever that may be at the time. That's the spot everyone's gunning for.
If the current number 1 don't show up, he forfeits the crown. So first, we take 10 cars and randomly pair them for 5 races.
Winners go up the list, losers go down the list. So it's imperative to win your races, especially if you're in the first few races of this round. A loss could dump you to the bottom half of the list.
Once the list is established, the call-outs begin. We'll be showing you some of the best races from over 30 call-outs.
But first, we have to establish the list. This is going to move kind of fast, so get ready to keep up.
Everybody ready? And go! Our first race is Shelby, driven by Michael Mack,
versus the 8-ball, driven by Drew Hall.
And Shelby wins the Battle of the Fords.
Shelby goes to number 1, Magic 8-ball drops to number 10.
Next up, we got Tony Mollick in the Red Runner
versus Keith Bean in the Duster.
Red Runner got the jump on him.
Red Runner goes to number 2, and the Duster goes to number 9.
Next up, we got a rookie called the Slick Trick
versus the Jolly Rancher. And that squealing pig sound you hear can only be Drew spinning a gear.
And that sends Slick Trick to number 3 and Jolly Rancher to number 8.
Up next, we got Michael Mack in his Killer Nova
versus Kelly Calkins in Valentine.
What is it with these two cars? They can't stay away from each other.
That sends Valentine to number 4 and Killer Nova to number 7.
That just leaves
Beetlejuice.
We ain't got no time for that right now because he got to run the Cannonball.
Oh, something happened to Beetlejuice. Cannonball won by a mile.
And the Cannonball goes to number 5 and Beetlejuice goes to number 6. And that's it. That's how we do it.
And so now it's time for the call-outs.
Cannonball at number 5 won his race, so he's going to call out Valentine for the number 4 spot.
Perfect start.
And the Cannonball manages to take it.
The Cannonball is your new number 4.
which pushes Valentine to number 5 and leaves her vulnerable for a call-out.
So now Cannonball's going to call out Slick Trick for the number 3 position. Slick Trick's a brand new build for Tony Mullet. It's a 1953 Chevrolet with an Ed Big Daddy Roth inspired paint job. I can't tell from that angle.
That angle's no better. We're going to have to go to slow motion.
And Slick Trick manages to hold that funny car off all the way to the finish line, which means Slick Trick is free to make a call out for the number 2 spot versus the Red Runner.
And Slick Trick gaps the Red Runner,
Which makes Slick Trick the new number 2.
and that pushes the Red Runner to number 3, and that makes him vulnerable for a call-out.
Now can I say it?
Yep,
Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
calls out Valentine for the number 5 spot. That makes Beetlejuice the new number 5.
Time for Michael Mack to defend his number 1 position.
Shelby got out in front of me off the line, and I just couldn't reel him back in. I ran out of real estate.
Michael Mack stays at number 1, and that leaves Slick Trick available for a call out.
Now Cannonball is going to call out the Red Runner for the number 3 spot.
I said it before, and I'll say it again. That funny car's a tough one to beat.
That gives us the new number 3, Keith Bean into Cannonball.
The Red Runner drops to number 4 and is open to a call out.
Number 7, Michael Mack and his Killer Nova is calling out Beetlejuice for number 6.
Now you know that's not how we agreed to say that. And our winner is Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
I'm out.
Well, you're just no fun anymore. Slick Trick has been called out for the number 2 spot, and they've been battling it out all day. Ooh.
And there's a perfect example of our flashlight start.
Yep, and that's a perfect example of how fast they are, too.
I was a lot happier with this win. It was more decisive. At least this time I beat him by a fender.
Yeah, the last race was just by the tip of the bumper.
That left Slick Trick able to call up, and that brings us to our last race of the day.
Tony Mullet in his rookie ride, the Slick Trick, versus Michael Mack in the Shelby Cobra for the number 1 spot and the trophy.
Still managed to get the jump on me at the light, and that half a car length is all he needed.
That was close.
That's the first time I ever saw someone start at number 1 and stay there all day.
And stay there he shall until someone knocks him off his throne.
Here, Mike. Yep, running. Yep. This is the first time anybody's gotten this, and he'll hang on to it until somebody takes it off of him. Number 1. Good picture of him. Put the trophy in the car.
Good job.
Yeah.
Here's where we started, and here's where we finished.
Well, folks, we hope you enjoyed the show.
And if you did, please share, like, and subscribe. I forgot that was the first night we ever used that original Top 10 trophy. What the hell ever happened to that thing?
By now, probably buried in somebody's closet. I'm pretty sure we're going to have to make a new crown to pass around.
When summer rolled around, we started racing on an 880-foot track at scale.
Yeah, something like that.
Close enough. It was longer than Drew's basement.
Fair enough. This race took place in Greensburg, Pennsylvania at Twin Lakes Park in Pavilion number 3.
You'll see how we molded the rules to suit a larger pack of contestants.
And I didn't even know rules could get moldy.
And with that, we'll take you to Greensburg, PA.
We're back.
I'm Randy Silvas.
And I'm Tony Mollick, and this is the Slotrods Preseason Special. We're going to get you ready for Season 2 of Slotrods.
Today we're going to join back up with the 724 as they race their way to ready for the official kickoff of the 2022 season, the Halloween shootout.
We're going to get you ready for Season 2 with a top 10 list shakeup. We're going to take 20 cars from the 724. We're going to race them for 10 races. The first winner will go to number 1. The first loser will go to number 20.
The second race winner goes to number 2. Loser goes to number 19, and so on, until we have 1 through 20 established.
Then, just for fun, the bottom 10 will race down to 2 cars.
Those 2 cars will be number 11 and number 12, at which time we will start callouts just like any other top 10 race.
At the end of the day, we'll record the top 10 for posterity and crown a new number 1.
Well, looks like the fickle finger of fate has landed on our first race. 2 of the fastest cars in the 724 have drawn each other. The Batmobile versus the Cannonball. And the loser will be the fastest number 20 ever.
All right.
Yeah.
Batmobile stole the hit.
Looks like I got about a half a car length on him and was able to stay there.
The Batmobile goes to number 1, and Keith, being in the Cannonball, has a long walk back up from 20.
During these list shakeups, it's imperative that you win. If you don't, you can find yourself at the bottom of the list real fast, and it's a long way up. Next up, we have Xavier in his 1961 Falcon Ranchero, the Undead, versus my new build, the Bumblebee.
Looks like the Undead just came alive.
I gave it everything she had, I just couldn't catch him.
That sends the Undead to number 2, and that Pretty Mopar to number 19. Next up, Tony in his 1951 Chevrolet called Slick Trick versus Tim Clark and Damien.
The Pinto.
Tim and Xavier are our father and son race team.
Whew, I usually don't get to jump on one of Tim's cars.
He was sleeping on the line. That sends Slick Trick to number 3, and Damien starts at 18.
Race number 4 will be Xavier in his 32 Ford called Triton versus Keith in his RT.
Woo! Looks like the Ford didn't have enough to cover that dodge.
That's the RT for the win, and he goes to number 4, and Triton goes to number 17.
For our next race, we have another 67 Dodge Coronet called Big Red versus the Ford Pantera called Hades.
This is another Ford on Dodge race.
Big Red left front wheels in the air and stayed that way for at least 60 feet.
Big time.
And that gave Hades plenty of time to get out in front of me.
That puts Hades in the top 5 and Big Red at 16.
That brings us to Venom versus Kelly and Valentine 2.
Hey, I already had a car named Venom. I raced it in Season 1.
Oh, come on, man. Give the rookie the name.
Okay, if he's going to keep the name Venom, from now on my black Ford GT is named The Antidote.
That takes Venom to number 6 and Valentine 2 to number 15.
That leaves us just 4 races away from seeing what this top 20 will look like.
All right, the race for number 6 is Kelly's Corvair versus Drew in his 1940 Ford called the Magic 8 Ball.
Whoa.
Yeah, he's been racing that one since Season 1. 8 Ball won that one at the starting line, and that sends him to the number 7 spot, and the Corvair goes to number 14.
Our next car is our current King of the Tournament trophy holder, Kelly Calkins, in her black Super Beetle called Beelzebub, versus Keith Bean in the Bird.
The wrong one. You're moving mine.
Oh, I guess double check yours.
Yeah,
now.
you made mine backwards.
All right.
You keep moving
Check
mine.
yours now.
That's
Check
why.
yours now. Are you good? You good for sure?
Yeah, but yeah,
Technical difficulty
that's
there.
okay.
Okay.
You good?
Literally off the line at the same time.
But Beelzebub does what Beelzebub does.
That puts Kelly at number 8 and the Bird at number 13.
The Blatzmobile. Who the hell's running that?
Hey man, that's my new sponsor.
Do they even make that anymore?
Blatz, the beer that tastes as great as its name.
Blatz!
We used to drink that stuff when I was a kid. It tasted like it was made out of creek water.
And here's the car that you all named on Facebook. The 67 Mercury Comet Cyclone called Purplicious.
Ready? Yeah.
Oh my.
Side by side down the promenade. We had a finish line camera, but the footage wasn't usable for the better part. But I was able to extract this capture from the finish line, and you can see here that it was right laying by a nose.
The Mercury goes to number 9, and the Vet goes to number 12.
And that brings us to the last race of today and the final piece of the top 20 list.
Unfortunately, the Duster had a catastrophic failure at the line, leaving the Night Stalker to round out the top 10.
And the Duster has time to figure it out before the next round, sitting at number 11.
Next time in part 2 of our preseason special, We'll race the bottom 10 down to the 2 fastest cars, and they will join the other 10 cars in a race for the new top 10 in our Season 2 premiere coming in September.
So until next time, I'm Tony Mollick.
And I'm Randy Silvas.
And we'll see you in part 2 of our preseason special. You've been watching a production of Slotrods. Hey everybody, I'm Tony Mollick.
And I'm Randy Silvas. And welcome back to part 2 of the Slotrods preseason special.
Last time we raced 20 cars down to 2 groups, a top 10 and a bottom 10. And these cars rounded out the bottom 10.
Now we're going to race them down to 2 cars, and they will be added to the 10 winners. And we will have call-outs between those 12 cars to establish a new top 10.
Round 1 of our bottom 10 will be Cannonball versus Damien, Triton versus Bumblebee, Big Red versus Kelly's Corvair, the Bird versus Valentine 2, and the Duster versus the Blatzmobile.
So on with our first race. The Pinto known as Damien versus Keith Bean in the Cannonball.
Cannonball got a jump on him by a car length before that Pinto even moved.
And the Cannonball lives on into the next round. Next up, the Bumblebee versus Xavier's 1932 Ford called the Triton.
Left lane. Bumper.
That's a pretty good eye on Keith, because I can't tell by the video.
Let's check that out in slow motion.
We left the line together, but I got about a half a car length ahead of him and then just kept it for the rest of the race.
And the Bumblebee moves on to the next round.
Race number 3 will be between my 67 Dodge Coronet called Big Red and Kelly Calkins and her Corvair.
Woohoo! She had you at the starting line.
Doesn't matter anyhow, because I never had a chance for a win, but I crossed the center line before the finish line.
That sends Kelly on to round 2.
For our next race, Kelly Calkins will be driving again in her 1954 Chevy panel wagon called Valentine 2 versus Keith Bean in the Bird.
Oh, Kelly got to jump on him by a fender. Yeah, but Keith come around her at the finish line.
And Keith will be moving on. And speaking of moving on, he'll be moving on to the next race, racing again, pitting his Duster against my Blatzmobile.
The Duster was definitely the fastest car off the line, but at the 300-foot mark, it was all Corvette. And the Blatzmobile wins the last race of the first round.
So our round 1 winners have drawn cars to see who they're going to race. And we're going to have the Cannonball versus Kelly's Corvair, and the Bird versus the Bumblebee, and the Blatzmobile got the bye.
First up, we got Kelly's Corvair versus the Cannonball.
Cannonball was the first out, and the first across the finish line.
You can see in slow motion, the Cannonball crossed the center line, but not till after the finish line.
So it didn't cost him the win.
Okay.
Ouch!
Yeah, I hate when that happens.
That brings us to round 3. The Cannonball drew the bye, and he gets to move on to be in the top 12. Winner of this race gets to join it.
The Blatzmobile and the Bird. Winner moves on.
Looks like you were out on him from the start. Looks like the Bird got beat. I guess that takes your new sponsor to the next round.
When you're so broke and thirsty that simply any beer will do.
Blatz!
Keith and I flipped a coin for position for 11 and 12, and there you have it.
Well, that wraps things up for our preseason special.
On our Season 2 opener, later in September, we'll pick up where we're leaving you today.
So until we meet again, I'm Randy Silvas.
And I'm Tony Mollick, and we'll see you in Season 2 of Slotrods.
Last left you on our preseason special, we were at the June 12th, 2021 List Shakeup and Top 10 race.
We raced everybody down to the 12 fastest cars, and it was time for the callouts. Here are some of the most exciting races of the day. First up, we have the Pantera called Hades, calling out the 1976 Corvette called the Batmobile. This will be for the number 2 spot.
Left lane by a car.
The Batmobile was off the line a car length before Hades even left. But right around the 600-foot mark, he came around that Stingray.
Yes, he did.
And that makes Hades the new number 2.
Next up, we have the current king of the tournament trophy holder, Beelzebub, being called out by that crazy Mopar funny car called the Cannonball. And this will be for the number 7 spot.
Now they left the line together. Oh, something went drastically wrong after the finish line.
Yeah, you can see that bug got loose. Got tangled up at the wall at a catch bin.
Yeah, and then proceeded to spin, twist, and scatter itself all over the track.
To make matters worse, she lost the race. And that made the Cannonball the new number 7.
The Beetle was down, but not out, and after some quick repairs was back out racing. And that's surprising, because I think that was one of the worst accidents we've seen since we started this show.
So then it was time for Hades to call out Slick Trick for the number 1 spot.
Man, that Pantera's quick.
You can see Slick Trick spinning off the line, and spinning ain't winning.
And that spun Hades into the number 1 spot, which made Slick Trick call Hades out for a rematch.
Which led to the same thing, only worse. Turns out I wasn't spinning tire, I was spinning a gear.
And you have just witnessed the last run that gear ever made.
Yes, sir. And you just witnessed the ascent of a new number 1 for the month of June.
We got a brand new number 1. There you go. Thank you very much. Hang on to it until next time. It's the crown.
Which car won it?
Hades.
Poor Beelzebub. Managed to keep in the race, but fell all the way to number 9.
But June became July, and along with a new month came a new top 10 race.
In only 2.5 race days, Keith Bean has taken the Cannonball from a lowly number 20 all the way to the number 3 spot. And that means the Cannonball has called out Tony in the Batmobile for number 2. race looked like it was all cannonball, but you managed to close the gap on him at the finish.
I just ran out of track before I could catch him.
Yeah, that happens. So, of course, there was nothing left to do but for Keith to call out Tim for his number one spot.
You guys good? I can't believe you managed to beat Tim off the line.
Wow, and he even managed to gap him.
Even a blind squirrel gets a nut once in a while. All right, we got ourselves a new number one. Wear it well, Keith. There's plenty of people going to be gunning for you next time. Especially that guy standing to your right who don't like to lose, I'm sure. Tim, you got anything to say?
I got you.
Good job, Keith. Nothing like rubbing salt in an open wound.
So if any of you think we don't take this shit seriously, watch Keith's reaction to what he thought was a loss.
Yeah, and he won that race.
Look at Tim's eyes.
Yeah, that is one man planning another man's untimely demise.
Well, that's okay because he'll get that chance soon enough.
Hey man, did you call Keith to check and see if he ever made it home?
No, but I kept a keen eye on Tim for the rest of the night.
And that gave us a new top 10 list. However, shortly thereafter, Hades suffered a catastrophic crash and Tim pulled it from the list.
And then a real shocker, the queen of the Crystal Skull herself, Brittany, had to pull her cars for personal reasons.
And we all hope she returns to us soon.
On our next show, we'll put our incomplete top 10 list back together again.
Until then, thank you all so much for watching the premiere episode of Season 2. I'm Randy Silvas,
And I'm Tony Mollick.
and you've been watching
Slotrods. That was a fun summer, and an important one for Slotrods.
And you can tell everybody was starting to take things a lot more seriously.
And this was when you started to see the cars get noticeably faster.
Keith was holding a trophy going into August, and by then, everybody was already starting to think about the Halloween shootout.
And some cars were already being pulled off the list because they were ready for Halloween and the drivers didn't want to take a risk racing them anymore.
And I remember this as one of the best top 10 race days we ever had.
And one of the fastest.
Hey everybody, I'm Randy Silvas.
And I'm Tony Mollick.
Welcome back to Slotrods.
When we last left you, we had an 8 out of 10 list.
8 out of 10 list.
Yep, 8 out of 10 list. And no matter how you slice it, that's 20% off.
And that's not in a good way.
That's right, and to complicate things, Beelzebub took himself off the list because Kelly thought he was plenty fast enough for the Halloween race.
And to complicate things even further, Shelby was lost in a catastrophic crash and left yet another gaping hole in the top 5.
Which leaves us with 4 spots to fill, and here are the 12 cars that want to fill them. And just like everything else around here, we're going to race them to fill them.
So, without further ado, here's the first race. Lewis Wingate in the 1966 Dodge A1 called the Pineapple Express.
Versus Keith Bean in his 1967 Plymouth called Get X. They left together.
I don't know, Tony. Looks to me like Get X just got X'd.
What are you doing?
What do you mean? I'm just trying to spice things up a bit. It's my new thing.
Your new thing?
Race 2 is the 1970 Pontiac Trans Am called
The Bird.
Hey, that's my thing.
Hey, two can play at that game.
Fair enough. Versus the 1966 Carmen Ghia, aptly named the Grand Ghia.
Look at that Carmen Ghia fishtail off the line.
Yep, and the whole way up the track. I think the bird got it in the bank.
The Gia gathered herself up around the 300-foot mark. That's when I started crawling up his quarter panel.
On to race 3. Xavier in the 1971 Ford Mustang called the Night Stalker. Versus Tony in his 66 Ford Galaxy called Blue Dream 2.
He immediately got out in front of me.
Yep.
Did you catch him at the end? Definitely started gaining on him at the halfway point.
Yes, I did.
And our winner is Blue Dream 2.
Race 4, round 1 is the 1971 Plymouth called the Duster versus the 72 GTO called the Judge. That was all Duster.
And the Duster dusted the competition.
Okay, I'll quit if you will.
That's a deal.
That makes the Duster our winner.
On to race 5.
Randy's Ford GT called the Antidote versus the 1967 Dodge Coronet called Big Red.
Yep.
Ooh, something happened to the Dodge. Were you sleeping at the line?
Nah, I just think that GT made a serious lick. And that brings us to the last race of the first round. Tim Clark in the Ford Pantera.
One-eyed, one-horn, flying purple people eater.
I thought we had a deal.
All right, I'm sorry. I got lost in the moment.
Versus Xavier in the 1932 Ford Gasser called Triton.
Oh, that was
He got you by half a door.
That was good fun.
Who got who by half a door?
You can't tell from camera 2.
Oh, Triton by 1 car length.
We decided to start something new. Since we're always looking to do stuff for the slot car community, we've decided to start promoting slot car events that you, our viewers, send in to us.
And our first one is an honor to tell you about. It's the 74th Model Motoring Car Club, Cleveland Slot Car Show, taking place October 31st, 2021.
It will run from 9:30 a.m. until 3:30 p.m. Admission is $5, tables are $35, and floor rights are $25.
There will be door prizes, memorabilia, old-timer slot cars,
Displays, authors, and all kinds of parts for sale.
and it's going to be held at the Quality Inn Suites in Richfield, Ohio.
So if you're in the Cleveland area on Halloween, this would be a great way to spend your day.
Okay, everybody, let's get back to our races.
That brings us down to our final 6, and we only need 4, so they're going to have to race it out.
And this is the best of the races that got it down to the 4 cars that filled the bottom half of the list.
First, we have the Pineapple Express taking on the Duster.
Everybody ready? Yeah. Go.
Hold on. All right.
Oh, Tony, this time it looks to me like the Duster got dusted.
All right, I'm sure we had a deal now. Pineapple, moving on.
Next up, it's Pineapple Express again versus the Antidote.
What the hell happened to the GT?
I'm speechless. I looked away from the light for one split second and it cost me the race.
On that one.
Pineapple Express, again, moving on.
Next up, we got some Ford-on-Ford crime. Xavier in Triton and Tony in Blue Dream 2. Any predictions?
You want me to say a Ford's gonna win?
Yeah.
Randy, I believe a Ford's gonna win this race.
Let's see the finish line camera for that.
Yep, I beat him by more this time than I did the last time.
And Blue Dream 2 moved on.
But the Triton wasn't done racing either. He took on the Antidote. Randy, I believe you've been waiting for this race.
Seriously, you really think that I hold that kind of grudge against Xavier for stealing my name for his Torino? You think I'm that petty?
Yep.
Looked like you were having your way at the 300-foot mark.
Unfortunately, it was a 600-foot race.
And the Triton gets one.
Well, anyway, by the time the six of us were done slugging it out, the Pineapple Express, Blue Dream 2, Triton, and then the Antidote made our list whole again.
You didn't lose much in that grudge race.
Yeah, 9, 10, what's the difference? At least I'm back on the top 10 list. Now I can work my way back to the top.
And there you have it. That was your top 10 list for a few weeks anyhow.
Next time, we have a knockdown drag out of a race for a new top dog. Cannonball's been a little inconsistent, but he's always a threat.
But Pineapple's being more focused and aggressive than I've ever seen him before. Hell, even I'm excited about the next episode.
Me too, baby. So, until next time, I'm Randy Silvis.
And I'm Tony Molick, and you've been watching Slotrods.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Slotrods. I'm Randy Silvis.
And I'm Tony Molick.
The last time we left you, this was how our top 10 list looked.
And when we got together to have our top 10 race, before we could even fire up the cameras, number 4, Damien, called out number 3, Venom, and Damien won, making him the new number 3.
So, before any of the rest of you lunatics, and you know who you are, can make any more call-outs, let's get these cameras rolling. For our first race, number 8, Blue Dream 2, calls out number 7, Pineapple Express.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, here we go.
Okay.
Pineapple Express made a hell of a pass for the first one of the night. And that means Pineapple Express wins, and there's no change to the list.
Huh, buddy, that Ford didn't even look like he had a chance to catch that Dodge.
Lewis really has that Pineapple Express lined out. He's been doing a lot of work on it the past couple of seasons to get it that way, too.
Up next, number 6, the Magic 8 Ball, calls out number 5, the Undead.
Yeah.
Tony, it looks like Drew has that 8 ball all tuned up too.
Yeah, Xavier usually makes a better pass than that.
And that gives us a new number 5, moving the Undead to number 6. For our next race, Tony wasn't wasting any time waiting to get called out. So he got to Keith before anybody could get to him.
Yeah, I can be pretty stealthy when I have to be.
Brother, you beat that cannonball the only way you can beat him. Get out in front of him and stay there.
Easier said than done most of the time.
Ooh, Batmobile by 3 car lengths. And that gives us a new number 1, and that places Cannonball at number 2.
Next, Randy tries to get off the bottom of the list by calling out number 9 Xavier in the Titan.
Rematch time.
I'm rolling.
I don't think Xavier was ready for that GT tonight.
Yeah, she's pretty fast when I'm doing my job right.
That's the antidote by 2 car lengths and a new number 9. And the Titan needs to get his head right.
Up again, Pineapple Express, calling out number 6, the Undead.
Lewis was being extremely aggressive in his call-outs that day.
Yes, sir, and that's exactly how it should be. If you don't want to be number 1, you shouldn't even be here.
Lewis was a man on a mission. Look how fast he came off that line.
Yeah, and he just kept spreading the gap further and further.
We have a new number 6. Pineapple moves up, and the Undead moves down.
Damien wasn't wasting any time either, as he jumped on Keith in the cannonball.
Well, Keith would have had to race down before he could call me back out anyhow, so this race had to happen.
Cannonball got the jump, and then just kept the hammer down. Perfect pass. And that makes no change to the list.
I still wasn't content at number 8, so I called out number 7, the Undead, who was still vulnerable for a call-out after his loss to Drew in the 8-ball.
Nice job, Tony. That Galaxy's really starting to make some good passes. Blue Dream 2 by half of a car. You can see how that top 10 list is starting to sort everybody out.
That's the thing about the top 10 list. Eventually, you end up right where you belong.
Next up, not this guy again. Lewis in the Pineapple Express calls out number 5, the Magic 8 Ball.
I thought Drew would put up a better fight than that. Pineapple was running like he was on rails.
What do you mean? They are on rails. Pineapple by a lot. And that means we have a new number 5, and Magic 8 Ball slips to number 6.
And since there were no call-outs in front of him, Pineapple Express immediately calls out Venom for the number 4 spot.
Up, gotta jump, gotta jump. Ready.
Wow, Pineapple Express is breaking a lot of hearts today.
Yeah, well, somebody in the top 3 better stop him because he's not just beating cars, he's gapping cars race after race.
Venom falls to number 5, and Pineapple Express is our new number 4. Mind you, he wasn't even on the list before today. He came in with that bottom 4.
And if you don't know what we're talking about there, go back and watch the last episode.
Cannonball wasn't going to let the Batmobile just sit at number 1 unchallenged. He had revenge on his mind.
He's finally back in form. It took me a few race nights, but I got the new gears working right.
And another gap. What the hell's going on today?
No change to the list.
Guess who's coming up next?
Does he wear Pittsburgh black and yellow?
That's right. It's the ever-ambitious Lewis Wingate going after the Pinto called Damien for the number 3 spot.
That ain't your grandma's Pinto. He earned his way into the top 3, and he's not going down easy.
And another Titan falls.
Something happened to Tim at the light.
Yeah, he missed it.
Pineapple by a bumper.
I believe the weight and measurement of that gap would be called a Memphis bumper.
You are correct. We have a new number 3. Somebody needs to stop him. This shit's getting serious.
Why? Is he getting too close to you?
Yes, he is. All right, let's take a break from the rise of the Pineapple Express. Let's catch up with Randy at the number 9 slot.
And I did not want to stay at the number 9 spot, so I called out Xavier in the 61 Falcon Ranchero.
That GT was on a mission. You should have made more call-outs, man.
Yeah, I know. And that was what you would call a textbook Memphis bumper.
The Undead slides to number 9. Something has happened to the Ranchero, and he needs to figure it out fast.
Well, it had to happen. Pineapple's calling out the Cannonball for the number 2 spot.
This should be where Lewis's luck runs out. That Mopar funny car has already defended that spot today.
Well, there it is again. He even got a car length out in front of Keith. What the hell did Lewis do to that thing?
And still managed a gap. Somebody should have been betting on Lewis for the gap all day. They'd have cleaned up.
Yeah, I'm sure a few people did.
Shh, don't tell him that.
My bad. We have a new number 2.
And the Cannonball falls to number 3. Meanwhile, at the top of the bottom 5, Magic 8 Ball calls out Venom. Now that's a drag race.
Yeah, it was. But I think Drew clipped him at the end.
And Drew finishes his day back in the top 5, moving Venom to that top spot of the bottom of the list.
You just keep trying to make chicken shit into chicken salad with that top of the bottom thing for number 6.
It's all in how you look at things.
Well, the way I look at things, that just moves him to the bottom half of the list.
That's lofty wisdom from all the way down at number 8.
Damien was waiting to jump on a fresh corpse and called Cannonball out before the day could end.
I'm good.
Looked like we had a real drag race until the midway point, but Damien held off Keith and is our new number 3.
Look out, Tony. Here comes the Pineapple Express.
Well, I guess if you want something done right around here, you're gonna have to do it yourself.
Got your stickies on, Tony.
What's that?
You got your stickies on. You need them.
I don't want to.
Do intimidation. Everyone ready? Everyone ready? Ready?
Yeah.
Oh, looks like Lewis finally met his match. That vet stepped out on him and never looked back. And that made the Batmobile the number 1 car in the 724 for the month of September. Or until someone can take it from him.
Time for me to give you the number 1 trophy. Top 10.
First time in well over a year. And now I get to just work on my cars. See how long I can stay at number 1.
Good luck.
Thank you, Randy. I'm gonna need it. The sharks in this pool are hungrier than ever.
Sharks. More like hoodlums. All right, so what's next, Tony?
Next time we get together, we'll be covering the 3rd annual Halloween shootout and the quest for the Crystal Skull Trophy.
Wow, that time of year again. Where's 2021 going?
Well, wherever it's going in a hurry. The leaves are changing and falling from the trees here in southwestern Pennsylvania.
Yes, they are. And the tires and track, they should be nice and cold as usual, making it a dangerous race for the cars.
Right on. I can't wait to see that race go down from the inside.
So until next time, I'm Randy Silvas.
And I'm Tony Mollick, and you've been watching
Slotrods. Summer gave way to fall, and we had an incredible Halloween shootout back at Twin Lakes Park.
Yeah, we should have called that one the Chili Bowl because it was about 48 degrees out that day.
Then fall gave way to winter, and it was back to Drew's basement we went.
And that was a long winter. In March of 2022, we were still in Drew's basement for what I believe was the last top 10 race we had.
And it was a memorable night with a surprise ending.
So, without further ado, here we go.
All right, here's the deal. Pineapple couldn't be here. He forfeit his spot. That makes Damien number 1. Venom wasn't here, so that did that spot. And who the hell was the other one? Oh, I took Batmobile off the list. I was the first one to go because I had to rebuild her. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to draw chips. We're going to race down to 3 cars. Those last 3 cars are going to face off against each other to fill up 8, 9, and 10. When 8, 9, and 10 is filled, the first round of call-outs is going to be automatic. 10 calls out 8, or 10 calls out 9, 8 calls out 7, 6 calls out 5, 4 calls out 3, and 2 calls out 1. We have 5 races in a row. We get to shuffle things, see if anything moves. After that, we're instituting a new rule for when somebody calls out number 10. If you call out number 10 and you win, and you take the number 10 spot, you immediately have to call out number 9. It automatically happens. Number 9, new thing for number 9, kind of sucks for number 9, but they're always open up to a call out from a new number 10. Doesn't matter whether you won or lost your last race, you have to race number 10. After that, that number 10 spot is up for grabs. If number 10 doesn't beat number 9, number 10 is automatically open to a call out. So when we get to that portion, anybody who's not on the list, you can just keep calling out the new number 10 as soon as they lose or as soon as they get out of your way. If they call out number 9, they beat them, and number 9 drops to number 10, call them out. All right? Now, today's race, for those of you who don't know, we have 3 trophies. The top 10 number 1 trophy, we have a Halloween trophy called the Crystal Skull, and we have a tournament trophy called the King of the Tournament. Right now, Kelly has 2 of the 3 trophies. She has the Tournament King and she has the Crystal Skull. If she goes to number 1 today, and she's not even on the list, so she's got to go from off the list all the way to number 1, she could unite the 3 trophies for the very first time. So that's what's going on today. Everybody got it? All right. All right, here's the top of the very first round. And first up is Valentine versus the Wrecker. And Kelly was asleep at the line and still managed to come around on the big end. She got lucky on that one. Hopefully she gets her head right before the next round. Next up, we have a rookie driver, Ray in his Charger, versus Beelzebub. He jumps and Kelly sits. She sat on him. Good job, Kelly Calkins. Welcome to Slotrods, Ray. For our 3rd race, we have another rookie, Jimmy in his Volkswagen microbus called Don't Give a Fuckin', versus Keith Bean in the GetX. That's a drag race, y'all. Jimmy didn't give a fucking about being a rookie either. He took it to the GetX. But that Plymouth managed to get out on him by about a half a car and took the win. Next up, the 724 Fuzz versus yet another rookie driver, Tim, with his 1941 Ford called Copperhead. Well, he ain't that green. He just barely stole a hit from Tim Clark.
I think our new Tim will have to get a nickname so we don't get those two guys confused. Looks like the Fuzz got there first. Next up, the 61 Ford Falcon Ranchero called Rambunctious versus the Ford Pantera called the Purple People Eater. That Pantera left like a dart. He just drugged that Ranchero for 660 feet. And our last race of the first round is the Joker versus the Exterminator.
Running.
That's a damn nice drag race. Looks like the Exterminator got out 60-footed, and that's all the Joker beat him by. And here are your racers moving on to round 2. Valentine, Beelzebub, GetX, the Fuzz, the Purple People Eater, the Joker, and of course Gone Green had to buy.
There you go. Well, then just look down and grab all the same colors. You good with those?
I had to move that. So I can get in there.
Valentine.
And Joker got the buy.
On number 4, Joker got the buy.
Cool. So round 2 will be Beelzebub versus Gone Green, then GetX versus the Fuzz, the Purple People Eater versus Valentine, and the Joker drew the bye. First up, Beelzebub versus Gone Green. Beelzebub leaves first like usual, beats Gone Green to the 60-foot mark. That Ford was trying real hard to reel that bug back in, but it was too late. Our second race is the Fuzz versus GetX.
On.
Number 1 going.
Tim stole a hit. It was close, but it was damn near a jump. And the last race of round 2 is Valentine versus the Purple People Eater. Oh, Tim got her off the line and Kelly was just stuck chasing him for an 1/8 mile. And here are your second round winners. Round 3 is 2 races. Beelzebub versus the Fuzz, and the Joker versus Purple People Eater. First, Beelzebub versus the Fuzz. She didn't get beat off the line this time. Beelzebub by a school bus. Now the Joker versus Purple People Eater. And as Randy said, that's a whole lot of purple. Joker never had a chance. Our round 3 winners will be moving on, but we only need 3 cars for the list. So, the losers, Fuzz and the Joker, will have to race for the number 10 spot, and the loser goes home. Fuzz gets the jump. Joker couldn't close the gap. Fuzz by a fender. What a good race. All the Joker needed was an extra 60 feet to win that one. So we officially have our new number 10, the Fuzz. And battling it out for 8 and 9 will be the Pantera, versus Beelzebub. So, in part 2 of this episode, we're going to race those two cars straight off the trailer for the number 8 and number 9 spot. And that'll give us our top 10 list. And then once we have our top 10 list, the call-outs will start. So there's a lot of great racing action to come, and you're not going to want to miss it. So until we meet again, in for Randy Silvis, I'm Tony Mollick, and you've been watching Slotrods.
Hey everybody, I'm Randy Silvis.
Now I'm Tony Mollick.
Welcome back to Slotrods.
So Randy, how's the new dental work working out?
Well, you'll be able to tell by the way I'm talking, but I don't know yet. I'll tell you when I get my full set of teeth. I only got half of them right now.
I'm almost afraid to ask, but how's it feel?
Well, I feel like I went in, they put me to sleep, pulled down my drawers, put a firecracker in my mouth, lit it, walked out of the room, boom, blowed all the teeth out of my head, came back in, stuffed a half a set of dentures in my face, pulled my pants back up, and sent me on my way.
Well, Randy, that was quite a mouthful.
Yeah, just like these freaking teeth.
Okay, I'm almost afraid to ask, but why'd you say they pulled your pants down?
'Cause I assume that's what they do when they put you to sleep at the dentist, isn't it?
I'll remember not to use your dentist. Hey, welcome back anyhow, man. Good to have you.
When we last left everybody, the drivers were trying to keep Kelly from climbing the list. She was trying to get to the number 1 spot, and that would have given her control of all 3 trophies in the 724.
Well, they're going to have to figure out how to stop Beelzebub.
And speaking of Beelzebub, at the end of part 1, Purple People Eater and Beelzebub were getting ready to race for the 8th and the 9th spots.
Unfortunately, that race never really got a chance to happen because Purple People Eater had trouble getting to the line, so Beelzebub won by default. And that brought us to the first round of callouts, which was automatic. Even numbers called out all the odds.
So first up, number 10, the Fuzz, calls out number 9, the Purple People Eater. Oh, PPE still's hit.
And that put him about a half a car out by the 60-foot mark.
The Pantera gaps the Fuzz by 2 car lengths, and that means there's no movement on the list. Next up, Beelzebub gets her first chance to move up the list. She calls out the Triton for the number 7 spot.
Right.
They came off the line together, but that little bug just kept pulling further and further away from the Triton.
Look out, fellas. Here she comes. Beelzebub, the new number 7.
Then Randy and the Antidote called out the Undead for the number 5 spot.
I'm rolling.
Oh, Tony, I think I hear the squeal of the Undead.
And that was the unmistakable sound of a crown gear losing its grip on a 1/8 inch axle. That's the Antidote for the win.
Tony in the Blue Dream 2 calls out Drew in the Magic 8 Ball for the number 3 spot. Galaxy left the line like he was hitting the nitrous, and the 8-ball just couldn't catch him.
The old girl's finally starting to run like a 1 or 2. I think I got a future number 1 on my hands.
Yeah, there's a little black Volkswagen I think you're going to have to finish off first.
Well, first she'd have to catch me, and it's a long walk from number 7.
And that leaves one race left for the first round. Cannonball calls out Damien for the number 1 spot.
For number 1.
Tim Clark stole a hit. I see a pattern here.
He put a car length on Keith, and Keith just couldn't get that Pinto reeled back in.
And that brings us to a new round. And the Purple People Eater calls out the Triton for number 8.
PPE got the hit by a millisecond, buddy.
Triton coming around him on the big end. Triton by half a car.
Okay, now it's up to the Undead to stop Beelzebub from running up the list.
What happened to the first one wheelie bar?
Why, what happened? Missing a wheel off the wheelie bar.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Oh no, she lost a wheel off her wheelie bar.
We gotta find the
We'll
wheel
put
off the wheelie
5
bar.
minutes on the clock for her to fix her car, and if she can't get back to the line in 5 minutes, she forfeits the race.
We couldn't find the missing wheel, and we were just about out of time, so we sent it the way it was.
Well, that didn't work.
No.
Now what?
Uh-oh.
I do not know. I guess keep on looking for that wheel from the wheelie bar. Up next, Randy calls out Drew for number 4.
Nah, that's a drag race.
And the antidote takes out the 8-ball by half a car. We have our first driver trying to knock number 10 off the list. The Joker calls out the Fuzz.
Yeah, the Joker got the jump. He never looked back. We got a new number 10. That means the Joker and whoever's at number 9 will have to race by the end of the round. And that don't give PPE any time to get out of the way.
But first, the Triton spilled blood in the water and jumped on a wounded Beelzebub.
Number 1 is ready.
Number 2 is rolling. Number 3 is rolling.
Oh. Jumping off that.
And that puts Triton at number 7, and Beelzebub falls to number 8.
And now, according to the new rules, PPE has to take the call out from the Joker. And the loser of this race is open to a call out from anyone not on the list.
Pretty good start, but the Pantera had all the horsepower.
That means PPE remains at number 9, and the Joker is in danger of falling off the list.
The last race of the round will be the Undead versus the 8-ball for the number 5 spot.
Call out.
Camera 1 is rolling.
Whoa. Stop it short.
Well, there's a disaster.
What happened?
What the hell happened? How did it catch fire?
We smoked the transformer, which brought an end to our day, which left us with this as our current top 10 list. As far as how it happened, you'll see Xavier had his thumb heavy on the attenuator until the rear tires were just ready to crack. And that brought electricity to the car through the attenuator, but didn't allow the electricity to flow.
And that in turn smoked the transformer and set the attenuator on fire in his hand.
And it's hard to be mad at the kid for doing something that we didn't know to tell him not to do. But suffice to say, we know now. And thanks to an extra transformer, we don't have to miss any races.
And Kelly will have to wait for another day to try to get her third trophy. And that, boys and girls, was the end of racing with the Carrera 18-volt exclusive transformers.
The extra transformer that we did have was noticeably soggy, and it took about one more race day before we decided to bump up to the Professor Motor 20-volt version that we use now.
And the Professor Motor 20-volt transformer is what we'll be using for the street division. So it ain't exactly like old times, but it's going to be a ball of fun nonetheless.
Well, folks, we hope you enjoyed this stroll down memory lane.
This gives you a good idea on what to expect in the future for Back to the Streets.
Our 2024 Underground Points Chase that we've been showing you was initially scheduled to be 4 nights over the course of the winter.
But, due to a snafu, Night 3, scheduled to take place in February, did not happen.
Our next scheduled Underground race won't be until March 24th, 2024, and it will serve as the third and final night to the competition.
Final episodes of the Underground will be coming out in April of 2024.
So until then, folks, thanks for watching. I'm Tony Mollick.
And I'm Randy Silvas.
And you've been watching Slotrods.
The answer is no, you ain't got a chance. She's out of your league, just let the girl dance. No screaming aloud, yo, you just get a glance. Don't try to swim game, yo, just let the girl dance. The answer is no, you ain't got a chance. She's out of your league, just let the girl dance. You can watch a show flow from a distance, but give her some space, son, let the girl dance.
Now that's a drag race.